Hi everyone, welcome to Paul Programs. Today, we're taking a look at card game mechanics. So, let's take a look at a few different types of card games.
We have our stacking style of games. This has players place cards on a stack while trying to meet a certain condition. Examples of these types of games are Uno and Exploding Kittens. Next up are battling games that have players fighting it out with creatures, such as Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon the Trading Card Game. Then there are card games that have players gather resources to reach a goal. Keyforge and Munchkin are good representations of resource gathering games. The last example I want to mention are party or voting games, where players get a task to complete and rotate a judge to determine who wins a round. Cards Against Humanity and the metagame represent this category. These card games have different rules, but they share basic mechanics that are the basis for many card games. Next, we will take a look at what some of these mechanics are. The first mechanic to discuss is draw. This action is when you remove a card from a stack, such as a deck. The next mechanic to look at is place. In many games, players are required to place a card down either on another stack or a specific position on a game board. Shuffling is when players take a stack and mix up the cards into a random order. Last are game-specific actions dictated by the rules of a game or a card.
The coolest part about card games are they're simple and easy to make. All you need are some ideas and index cards. But you want to remember to fine-tune and balance your game as much as possible. Here are some tips to help you along the way.
An Excel sheet allows you to list all card details in one place. Doing so allows changes, additions, and balancing to be done on the fly. Keep card text as simple as possible because complex text can make balancing more difficult. Play your game as often as possible. Bring it to parties, bring it to class, bring it to the park. The point is to play your game often.
That covers working with physical card games. Now, some of you may be wondering, how do you develop digital card games? Well, let's take a look at some code basics to help you out.
Let's talk classes. Many object-oriented developers are familiar with classes. Classes are the way we create custom objects to represent an idea or object. Here we have our basic card class header, containing the base things that are needed in a card. From there we can create other classes that inherit from the base class, but add in other attributes or stats that may be required to a specific game card. For example, we have an Uno card that contains the values used in Uno, such as color and action type. This is on top of the base value inherited from the main card class. Another look at this idea is a template for a Yu-Gi-Oh card. It uses our card base but adds in attributes needed for this game instead. Now that we have our cards, we need a way to group them together. There are several structures that can be used, such as arrays, lists, or vectors, depending on the coding language that you are using. But remember that these groups need to be dynamic, so choose your coding structure wisely. Here, we are using vectors. Now, let's take a look at our three functions: draw, place, and shuffle. The draw function looks at the first card in our vector and puts its value in a placeholder. It then removes the first element from our vector and returns our placeholder. The place function takes a card that's been passed and puts it in the front of a vector. Lastly, the shuffle function goes through a deck a number of times that can be set. Each time it moves a card in the current position to a new position.
So that covers some of the basics of coding card game mechanics. Hopefully you were able to learn a little bit about the code, and if you're interested in taking this further, check out the GitHub link below. If you want to check out some of the recommendations I made earlier in the video, I'll have those below as well. Thanks for watching and catch you next time.